welcome to the Custom Underground Podcast, episode number 5.
How's it going,
now
everyone?
Available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and of course our favorite, YouTube.
Yeah, that's a big thank you to Nick Manua at nickmanua.com, or not .com, at Instagram, and at ManuaFigs, ManiWaFigs on Instagram as well. So big shout out to Nick. Thank you for
Thank you
putting us
very,
on
very
iTunes.
much. We're very appreciative of all your hard work and getting us out there to the public.
Yeah, on my flight just this past week, I've listened to it. So you guys gotta listen to it, download it. If you guys even don't listen to it, just download it. Like, subscribe. Like, I think there's a rating system probably on iTunes. So the more you download it, just download it, you guys. Okay, thank you.
Let's just go with Nike's logo. Just
do it. So we got a big episode today. We're interviewing Elite 14 Figs, XIV. From Britain. We're really excited because he's one of our biggest UK talents over there, and it was cool to have him on.
It was now international.
Yeah, we're totally international, and next season we already got a lot of interest from Mexico, another one, so we'll be really exciting. I know we got a couple of our Mexican brothers on here this season, and this is gonna be exciting.
And there are so many matchups. Like I said on social media, we have final matches in the first round, potential final matches in the second round because of that, and so on and so forth. And anyone, I believe, in this competition can hit a home run because
Absolutely.
These guys are super talented, and as judges, it's going to be very, very tough. And as the fans, you get some of the vote. It's going to be tough for you to decide between these customs because they're going to be so well done.
Yeah, I mean, and I hope that once you guys, check out some of our older podcasts, you guys really start to like these customizers as much as we do, because they're really cool people too. I know our interviews with Beyond One Rocket Jabroni, that was one of our best episodes, and then our last one with Angel Falcon was really cool. I mean, he's such a cool dude. Like, we're gonna definitely have him on in the future, even after this season, and shoot the shit with him. So we're
absolutely
glad.
He's a nice young talent coming up, and he's really perfecting some of his work and customs, and I think that he has a bright future, as do a lot of people in this contest. And we're very excited. And if you want to be on this show and you're in our contest, or if you aren't in our contest but want to be on this show, certainly get a hold of us on social media, the Custom Underground, and we'll do our best to get you on the show.
Yeah, and so without further ado, we're going to throw it to our interview with Elite, or XIV_Elite Figs, with a Z, right now.
Hello, we are live here with Jordan Davidson, all the way from the UK. Woo!
Yeah, what time is it over there? That's crazy.
9:10.
Oh, man. All right, yeah.
Excellent. So we had you on today. We want to discuss a few things with you, including we're going to be talking about torso cracking. So stay tuned to the end of this interview, because for beginners, it will be very useful. And for experts, you might pick up some tips, because we have 2 experts on torso cracking here. So first of all, what's your experience with masked wrestlers?
3. No, 2 I've done so far. I've done Son of Havoc, and I found out his name the other day. It was Blue Demon Jr. I had to do some research. I forgot. We only got Lucha Underground through alternative means. So after season 1, it's gone. I've got to wait till it comes on our Netflix.
It's not on Netflix over there yet?
Nope, nothing. And because it's so old, you can't torrent or anything like that.
That's crazy.
So I got up to, spoiler, Ricochet. Prince Puma winning. That was where I got to, and then after that, it just went.
Yeah, he pretty much goes on a dominant title streak. So
I did guess that a little. Matt Cross, as I've shown. I don't know if you can show the picture yourself, but this was my first masked wrestler. Reposted it even by himself.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Never
Right
completed it,
out
to
of
be
the park,
honest.
you hit a home run. Retweet by the master himself.
Yeah, I was quite. I did a couple of luchas. I did Chavo in his new attire. He sent me a message which my kid was happy about. He thought I was best mates with Chavo.
That's cool.
Um, I want to say Big Zeke. That's what he changed his name to, wasn't it?
Yeah. Who was that?
Yeah. It was Zeke or Jackson. So basically, with Brock Lesnar shorts on, and then my Matt Cross and my Pentagon. But as I said the other day, the new one's going to be coming soon.
That's
Have
exciting.
you done any British wrestlers?
No.
No.
That's like
Oh no, tell a lie, Marty. I've done Marty.
you've done what?
Girl, the villain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, what's your process with customs? What do you look for when you're doing custom? Break it down for us.
To start with, because I've just got back into it, I sort of just went with what I've got. A couple of them was just part swaps, Adam Cole, those sort of things. But I've seemed to have caught a customer from Australia. He's had about 4 off me so far. So at the minute, I've sort of closed commissions. I'm just working on my own personal collection, and we've got Kurt Hawkins, Cody Rhodes, Jeff, and potentially Matt working on for the Australian customer.
Oh man. It
He's
sounds like you're
currently-
busy.
He's had Adam Cole, he's had Marty, he's had Seth Gold Rush NXT, and he's had the second version of Jinder that I've just completed. All packed up, couldn't even show you.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's cool.
That's very cool. You got your own VIP.
Yeah, well, obviously eBay with the fees and that, we got in touch and we've gone past eBay now. He's on Instagram. I'll drop him a tag in this later on, but dealing out of it, I don't know if you deal in eBay, but you get all those fees. So works best if we work together. He saves money, I save fees. I'm doing work for someone as opposed to doing work and then selling.
Exactly, and he gets what he wants, so it works out for everybody.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been customizing?
This time round, 2 months. Looking back at that Son of Havoc, that was December 2014. I had a massive collection. I had all the CM Punks. I had the lot, and then sold them up and moved to Hot Toys.
No!
Hey, same here.
And then decided that 200, 300, no, it's not worth one figure. So
I still collect my Hot Toys.
Come back, yeah.
What was your first custom? Was it the Son of Havoc or?
No, the first one was I have done a British wrestler, Mason Ryan, Welsh.
Oh wow.
That was, I used to talk to someone on Facebook. I'm sure his name was Dustin. I want to say Dustin, and he used to give me all the formulas, and I just happened to have Triple H, basic Mason Ryan, put some red pants on it and done the logo, and it was done.
Would you like to see my old school first custom that I ever did?
Yes.
This is Jeff Jarrett, obviously the Titantron with the bone crunching head, the TNT sunglasses, the Ralph updated slap nut shirt, and the Gareth belt, the electric tape for wristbands, made from a Stone Cold Steve Austin body, which I thought was cool because they have legit heat in real life. So
I've never worked on anything other than Mattel.
Wow.
you're
Yeah, that's
youngin',
impressive.
all right.
That's crazy that
No,
you're even
30 this year.
yeah, you're even older than me. I'm 20. I'm going to turn 28 on Friday. Right?
Happy early birthday.
Or downhill.
Saturday.
Downhill from there.
Saturday.
So what was your favorite custom that you did?
I've
Choose
done
between your children.
I've done 3 Finn Balor first demons before there was even a Finn Balor figure. I tried the one for my friend, and then that took off, and then someone, I can't remember who it was, he bought 2. But that was my first time, like, other than like a Mason Ryan logo, that was my first time at properly sticking some paint on it.
That's cool.
And I know he's still got it now. I know his kid still plays with it. That's 3-4 years ago.
Oh man. So how'd you come up with your name? How'd you come up with the 14?
Check the charm. 14.
Oh man, that's crazy. Because I'm 13.
That's,
I have the Roman numeral 13 on me. That's crazy.
Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry, favorite football player.
That's awesome. Awesome.
I use it for all my accounts, so just know it's me then.
So, a lot of young customizers watching this show, what words of wisdom do you have for them?
Take your time.
Patience is a virtue.
Take your time. I've this mass wrestler, I'm on my 2nd build because in fact I'm on my 3rd. The first one of this one was rushed and didn't look right. The second one I changed it up and that was rushed and it didn't look right. And then the 3rd one, as you've seen, we're getting there.
Yeah, it looks nice.
That's coming along. Very good.
If I can spoil a little, I actually have not the body, of course, but
oh man.
I think that might
For
give
those
it away.
watching on audio, Mr. America, not Hulk Hogan. It's not Hulk Hogan. I'm telling you.
No, it's not. It's just got the same moustache.
That's crazy. I like to sculpt too on my basic bodies. It's weird.
I was doing it on the bodies, and then I was having to go back and repaint and everything. I was thinking, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, Macho Man come in handy. I mean, I've got underneath my bed, I must have 40, 50 just basic bodies that I'm never going to use except for shoulders.
Yeah. Those are harder to torso crack. Speaking of torso
Yes,
cracking,
they are.
I'm like, man.
I was going to say, when you get on the torso cracking, it's probably a good idea for new people to try on the basics.
Yeah, yeah.
The only problem I find is that the necks, you can't crack the neck. The neck seems to
Yeah. It's the glue. I think the glue in the neck is just so. There's so many pegs in that one piece of plastic. I think it makes it hard to separate the two.
It was something. I'm sure it was the older versions that they've seemed quite hard to crack.
Yeah.
Compared to the new ones as well.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they've just like cheapened on the glue and stuff.
I think they used like more hardcore glue because that plastic's also more brittle. I feel like in the older figures, it's they don't want to crack at all, man. It's
No.
it's bad.
Don't be
So
cracking
do you
your
have any advice on how to crack those necks? Do you heat it more? Do you?
I've got this. I'm not going to do it, but I used to just heat with the hairdryer. This is the same one I inherited and I've had for all the time. Not very powerful, but I was using that and it weren't getting there, and then I was burning my hands too much. So what I do now, boiling water, chuck it in the water for 30 seconds to a minute, take it out, just dry it up, because the worst thing I find is that when you tip it upside down to cut, you get the boiling water on you.
Mm-hmm. Been there.
Boiling water. What you want to do, I don't know if you can see it, the slit at the top. You call these X-Acto knives, don't you? Or
yes.
Yeah, this is a Stanley knife. So you get your Stanley knife, cut your slit, and then get your hairdryer and just heat that, and you'll see that it starts popping away. Cut the bottom of the shoulder, heat and heat and heat. Gloves, towel, whatever you need to use. Screwdriver, flathead. Not too big, not too small, because if it's too small, you'll have a pressure point and you'll break the plastic and you'll have white parts.
Yeah.
Too big and obviously
stress marks on the plastic.
Stress marks. Yeah. Always work on the back, not the front, because you're going to want to display your figures at the front. Turn your shoulder to the back, so you've got the slot there. Screwdriver fits in and just pop, pop. Next side, pop, pop. Reheat again. Eventually, you'll start hearing a cracking noise. Just take it slow.
Yeah, that's also
Then,
something I learned the hard way too. Is when I do use a screwdriver in front, I go on the pectoral.
yeah, and then you break the.
Yeah, because
Yeah, that
it's
was a good tip in there. Always work in the back because you're going to see the front. That was a really good tip thrown in there.
yeah. And then well,
I don't, you know,
if you
I was
go
wait for that.
yeah, if you go underneath the pectoral, like right underneath here, that's where like the plastic is like the thinnest at I find too. So like that's where your stress marks would happen. But if you go up like in the bulkier part of the plastic where his pec is, then it doesn't stress mark either. So that's something I've done lately too.
Yeah, just make sure that you work from side to side because you might find that one side's open and the other isn't, and then when you do finally pop it, pegs inside are just going to snap on the one side.
Now, do you re-glue your torsos when you reassemble them, or?
Um, I have done and I haven't. It depends how much trimming I've got to do on the inside, really, because you know yourself when once you crack one, the plastic just it ain't the same, is it? Then the trouble is you get glue in the cracks, and then you start spilling on the outside, and then you've got to start trying to cover that up or sand it down. So I tend not to. You know, when I sell them on eBay and stuff, I always put these aren't toys. These are for display. Play at your own risk. You know, I mean my own personal ones at the minute they're just in the cupboard until I get some room for them. But I haven't glued none of them.
Speaking of your cupboard, if you should win the Covenant Reaper Cup, where will you put it?
Short term bedside table because I'm rubbing it in a little bit. Um, After that, I'd probably go in my kids' bedroom. I keep a couple of trophies I have won,
Nice.
so I'll go in there, I think, and then
Excellent.
I might carry it around the house a little bit.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with that. You know, take pictures in various places with your trophy, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm really excited because I think you're one of the. I mean, I hesitate to even call you an amateur because like your work is much better than an amateur. Like I think that uh I could definitely see you being in the semifinal, and I think that you'd give any guy on the other side of the bracket a run for their money. So I mean, I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's the age. That's what it is.
It's a
A lot of
patience.
free time when you're 30.
It's a patience.
I was gonna say my opponent. I don't know who he is, so I can't speak about him. But you know, he might come up with something absolutely spot on. But
I'm excited for that. Who is his opponent, Pat?
Uh,
Ian, and I've got it.
oh, Ian.
Uh,
He's got
yeah,
that weird last name. Yeah.
let me just have a look for you. I think he followed me on Instagram and I messaged him saying like, "Is this you?" But I didn't get a reply. So
Ian
maybe maybe,
Hose something. Yeah.
maybe
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. That's our Texas friend. He's missing. He just got electricity back.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
That's probably
Correct.
why he was in the middle of the hurricane, or by the hurricane over here in the U.S.
yeah, we've heard there's another one there now, isn't there?
Yeah, in Florida.
Yes, there is in the Florida area, but he has checked in safe, and he did get electricity back, and he's working very hard. So you should be scared. No, just kidding. But I think it's going to be a really good match, and I really think that anyone can hit a home run here and eliminate anybody. And there's some really talented people. When we started this, obviously, when you start anything, you want the very best to sign up. I mean, if you start, racing, you want NASCAR guys and everything. You want the best, but you don't always get them. But I think in this case, we really got the most talented people out there in this contest, and I'm really excited to see what everyone produces.
Same here, absolutely. We appreciate you taking time out of your day and chatting with us over here because it's like we're on such different time zones.
Well, to be honest, I was expecting Thursday. I'm sure I said Thursday, but
Well, that's what it was funny
I've had,
because
I've had to quickly get ready.
he was telling me Thursday too. I was like, "Oh man, I'm busy Thursday." So he's like, "No, what about Tuesday?" And I was like, "Oh, I misread for Thursday, but he wrote Tuesday." So I was like, "Okay, yeah." So I'm glad we made it work though.
Well, we made it work,
Yeah.
and that's what counts. Exactly. And I do like your shirt, the Villain Club. Very nice.
She doesn't like that one either.
Well, when she's not looking, go online. We have a custom club shirt up. Just go ahead and get it, and
Just send me one when I win.
There you go.
In gold.
In gold.
Yeah.
There you go. Excellent. It's been great having you on. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your tips. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we are here with Jordan, and he has a very special surprise for all you, a free figure giveaway. Free, 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 free. Take it away, Jordan.
Right, so this month I haven't announced what the figure is or anything, but I'm running just a free giveaway. All you got to do,
Awesome.
like the picture, repost the picture, tag me in it, use the hashtag XIV giveaway 1, X-ray indigo violet giveaway 1. That's it. Once the month's out, I'll decide, or I'll vote on 2 or 3 that I'm going to give away. Tag everyone back in it, and we'll take it from there.
That's awesome.
And this is on Instagram, correct?
On Instagram, correct?
And throw us your name on Instagram.
It is XIV _ elite figs with a Z. Just to be
Awesome.
cool.
Check it out. He has some excellent work on there. And the free figure giveaway is going to be spectacular. It's going to be something great. I know it. Well, all of his work's great, so it's going to be something great. But
correct hashtag
okay, hashtag
XIV giveaway 1. You've got till the 1st of next month.
So they got
And then
25 more days, right?
25 days for free figure giveaway.
Which is huge, man. That's an awesome prize. I think that's a great idea. And
I'll cover postage. I'll cover the lot. It's completely free. You just got to repost the image.
is that USA, Canada, and Mexico included?
Yeah, if those storms stop.
There we go. You guys heard it?
Excellent. Very excited. I'm going to be reposting.
Hey.
1 inch per person.
1 entry per person. No!
He's got 3 accounts here.
It's a
You better
really
watch
nice
out.
thing that you're doing, and we hope that it gets your name out there because you're someone that we're very excited about in the customizing world. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. At the end of the day, get out there a little bit. Someone wins something
Awesome.
for free. So
Yeah, awesome. I've seen a lot of people already doing it, so I'm excited.
not that many, to be honest. We've got less than 20 at the minute, but
and now
Don't get
that it's
to-
on the Custom Underground podcast, everyone will do it because it's cool.
Well, we appreciate
Awesome.
having you back on here.
no problem. Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
See you later.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back to the show. This is the Custom Underground podcast, and we are about to look at some of the work in progress pictures that we have for you that have been coming in. Some amazing work, some very talented people in this contest.
Yeah, this is an amazing competition so far, and we're going to try to also audibly describe the work. So those of you listening on iTunes, which hopefully is a lot of you as well, go like our YouTube page, subscribe to us, and let's check out these work in progress. So the first one we got here, Patrick, you want to throw it up on your screen? Is it Will? I think I got it here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, let's do this.
Will join us, who is coming to us in G.I. Joe form. Very interesting. We are the X division. There are no weight limits. There are no scale limits. We accept everything.
Yeah. Well, did we show him last week in this one or not?
We showed him last week, but he has since updated his figure, and he wanted us to get out there.
Do we want to show the latest picture then?
No, we don't want to
No,
show
no.
the absolute latest. We want to show the one with the belt and the microphone.
That is the latest, isn't it?
Well, there's two of them. I think I only sent you one though. So yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna show this one. Here we go. This
Excellent.
Cool.
Nice use of accessories. For those of us on the audio side of things, he has the G.I. Joe wrestling belt from Sergeant Slaughter. He has the microphone, which I believe is from the Build and Brawl Roddy Piper. A very nice samurai. We have some Green Bay Packler gold and then yellow.
He might. Yeah, this is hard to explain because it's a fantasy attire. It almost looks like a Japanese wrestler in his walkout gear. I'm really digging it. It looks very dynasty-like, if that's even a word.
Yes, he's done a very good job. Again, he's competing in G.I. Joe form.
Yeah, it looks like it's got like a glacier face mask, which I'm really digging, and it's got like kind of like a armor, like sash type thing, like Pentagon, or like a samurai, So yeah, it's a great looking piece. This is definitely his medium that he works with, so we're excited because this is coming out, guns blazing, as far as I'm concerned.
Bang, bang.
And then let's go on the Rocket Jabroni over here. His picture is amazing. I think, man, he looks. This is almost, this doesn't even bring any words to my mind. It looks so flawless. You can see a sculpt right now. He's really sculpting on a torso, like a t-shirt type thing, but it's a little smoother for that. So, man, Rocky Jabroni is amazing. I know we've already said that. We've talked to him. He's one of my favorite customizers. So, man, this is
that head
amazing.
sculpt is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and without giving any teasers who he's working on, this is going to be a custom body type. He's doing a lot of sculpting work, and it's really smooth. I mean, I don't even think he's sanded it yet, and it's looking that smooth. So I'm really excited to see what he comes up with. The final product should be insane. So those are our work in progress so far. We got a couple others, but I don't think we're at liberty to show everyone yet. But needless to say, we've seen Beyondo's work too, and what do you want to say about Beyondo's work? For me, I'm blown away.
I'm blown away. We've seen almost all of them in some stage or another. Some of them in the earlier stages, and the work, the talent going into this is amazing. And I think that it's going to be very close a race. Some of these matchups are going to go down to the wire, and the fans might swing a vote or two. So be sure to tune in when we start our voting, which is coming up very soon.
Yeah, and I think the way we're gonna probably do is have a side by side on our. I don't know. What's the best way to do it? Should we have two separate pictures on all of our social media? That way, for Instagram, we can, like it, or should we do a side by side of each contest? I don't know. That's a good question. We can
side by side. I would think of each, so we know who they're voting for in the head-to-head matches. But
that's true.
We're certainly willing to take input and advice from anyone out there. So if you have thoughts on this matter, also if you have thoughts on future themes, we are entertaining ideas for future themes of the contest.
Yeah, we got some good ones so far.
Very good shout-outs to the people on our Facebook group who have come up with some interesting ideas, such as one-half of tag teams, Japanese wrestlers, heavier set wrestlers.
ECW. Yeah, ECW. I mean, there's a lot of great ideas, and thank you guys for responding. It's always exciting when we get some good conversation happening on there, and so if you guys haven't liked our page or joined our group yet, do so.
We absolutely love interacting with the fans. This is the reason we do it, is you guys. We want to get some of these hardworking customizers' names out there that are just beginning, and some of these veterans who are returning, like Biondo, who came back out of custom retirement for this very contest.
Yeah.
We're appreciative of that. We just want to get their name out there. We want to get our name out there, and we want to grow this so that we can bring up the best entertainment for you, the fans.
Yeah, so let's we're gonna kind of start shifting our focus here on the podcast, and we're still gonna talk about everything we've talked about before, but I think both of us have kind of talked back and forth, and we think that it's going to be best too to have a segment focusing on an aspect of customizing each week. So this week we're going to talk about torso cracking. I think that's the biggest question. But for future episodes, let us know. I know Biondo, this won't be a spoiler, but he's really good at even crotch cracking for these figures, and that's something that's really hard to do. And we won't touch on that today.
Say that.
But but it's really hard to do, and I'd love to have him on the show and discuss that, because that's something we haven't even seen on our other Facebook groups and stuff. So let's talk about torso cracking. This will be our subject for this week. If you're tuning in, if you do customs, this will be a treat, because not only have you heard what Elite had to say on the subject, but you'll also hear what both of us have to say on it. So let's start that now.
I'd like to start by saying I'd absolutely like to have Biondo on here to find out about the crotch cracking, because like you say, it's not really talked about on places like Wrestling Customs 101 and things like that, and other places that I'm in. So I would like to have him on. We're sending this official invite out to you now.
And I mean, the tough part about that too is not all Mattel figures have the ball joint hips. So the ones that don't actually have like a little rubber surround that plugs into the top part of the thigh, the I guess the hip joint, and for that piece, it's actually like a plastic piece. It's not a soft, flexible plastic one like some of the newer Mattel, some of the newer Elites. So the best way to paint the back of that is, it's tough to take it off. You can get it hot enough and you can maybe slip it off, but it's going to be hard to get back on. But what Biondo did was crack the crotch, and that allowed him to be able to paint the whole thing perfectly, and then reassemble it. And that's something that is like shows a true professional, as if Biondo wasn't already already considered one of the biggest professionals in this. His work in progress pictures showed that. And we're going to ask him too if we could show that, because I think you guys would all really appreciate that. But so on that note, yes, I agree with Pat. We definitely need to have Biondo on here talking about that. And one of the biggest questions right now is everyone's scared to torso crack, and that's one of the things I've always got questions of, and there's always questions on the forums. And maybe I'll do a companion video to this showing some, since I got to do some upstairs later here today anyway. So the biggest thing for torso cracking is, I mean, you have to pop off the head first. So my method of, if you're just removing a head, you can always use a blow dryer, a heat gun. Heat gun's a little too much, but blow dryer, or my favorite method, which is boiling water. So
that's the method I use.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for that, you can just have like a little cup. This is what I do, at least. I have a little cup, put it in the microwave for about a minute and a half, and stick the figure in there and go ahead and remove the head. But I'm not professional, so let's talk to the professional about what he does.
Yeah, so for me, I do something similar too. If I'm doing, one figure and doing like a limb swap or gonna crack the torso, I'll fill up a coffee mug, to the top with some water, put it in there for about 2.5 minutes, because I like it steaming hot, absolutely boiling up, and then I put the figure in there and I wait, because once the boiling water, when I was younger, I would put it in the pot as on the stove while it was boiling, and that's dangerous. I made it work, but that was with the old Jax figures, but it's dangerous. So now I would do the coffee mug, and I'd keep it in there for a couple minutes and let the plastic get soft. That's really what you got to be thinking about here is reverse engineering the torso here on a Mattel Elite figure. Both parts are plastic, and they have pegs that, male and female, that insert into each other. And trying to keep this talk very scientific here, there's a glue between the two that needs to be softened up, but then also the plastic itself. If you heat it beyond a point, it becomes pliable. The torso is not as much as some of the other ones. I think Mattel Elites are comprised of 2 to 3 different kinds of plastic, and that's why a lot of times you see discolorations in the paint. But what I do is put a boiling water. So there's 2 ways to get there. One for me is put it in a mug. Put the water in a mug, not with the figure yet. 2.5 minutes till it's bubbling. Take it out. Put the figure in there right away. For me, what is always a good sign is when I see the difference in temperature react inside the mug. So when I put in a figure inside a boiling mug, it bubbles up right away, and I like that because I like knowing that the water gets into the torso. For me, mentally, my psychology is I want to get as much water into the torso as possible and soften up all that plastic and all that glue, and I want it to allow for it to be longer. So my point is, if you can, if you're patient enough, wait until you think that the water is right there beyond, warming up to where it's like room temperature. So for me, it's like 2-3 minutes. Also waiting for the torso. That's ideal. And then, this is presuming you have the head off already. If not, the head's really easy to pop off at this point. You just grab it off with your bare hands. Elite brought up a good point. Shake off the water. I don't dry him off.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't dry him off.
Recommend
yeah.
shaking the figure because you can burn yourself and bad things will happen. So definitely shake the figure.
Very hot water, and this is something that you also shouldn't do if you're under like 16 without supervision from a parent. But this is also something you practice at when you get better at it. So the more you practice, the better you get at it. So I wait for about 2.5 minutes, and then I'll take the figure out. And my first thing is I use a box cutter knife. I know Jordan used an X-Acto, or as they say in the UK, a Stanley knife, which I just learned that. But to me, that doesn't provide enough leverage for me. It's just as great. It's just dangerous, for someone just getting into it. I like a box cutter because it allows me to put my whole fist around it and apply the pressure on the tip without thinking it's going to slide out and stab me in the hand. So I like to use a box cutter and just gently, cut alongside the top side of the neck where, the head would be on. Just to I think that's where the plastic bonds the most. So as long as you start creating that crack, it allows for the water to help do the rest. The next part is I'll use a flathead screwdriver. And Elite brought up a good point too, starting on the back. That's a great point because you don't want there to be stress marks. I like to go back and forth, though. I like to go back and forth, and something I said in that interview, and I'll restate it again, is, your stress marks are going to occur in the areas on the torso with the least amount of plastic. So underneath the pectoral and underneath one of your back shoulder muscles in the back of the figure, where the dips are at in the plastic is where your stress marks are going to always occur if you put the screwdriver there. So try not to do that.
I think the Elite brought up another good point, which is that you should practice on basics because they're cheaper. So do it a couple times on a basic before you try it on an Elite figure and, possibly ruin your Elite figure. So
that's
practice is the way of any customizing tip that we get. The only way to perfect it is practice. But I would do it on a basic figure first.
Yeah. Doing it on basic figure will always help too, because I think they're actually harder, and that that's a one-piece torso. But if you get the basic motions down, it's actually really easy. If you get the water hot enough and you get the plastic soft enough, torso crack is really easy. We brought up a good point too earlier that both Elite, the older the figure is, the tougher the torso crack it's going to be. Someone like old CM Punk figure or from the 2010, the old Elite plastic is really tough. It's really glued on there, and if you don't have to torso crack it, I wouldn't. But in the event that you do, it's very important to be patient with it, and don't be afraid to have to warm up your water more. This is something where the long game plays off in the end because you don't ruin a part or even stress marks. You can paint over those. That's not a big deal, but you'd ideally still not want to do that. So my preferred method is I'll go in the back a little bit on where the bulk of the muscle is at, because that's where the plastic's the thickest. Pry just a little bit, see if I can't get a little bit of separation there, and you're looking for the line down where the seam is, because that's where the mold is at on the figure. You're looking for that to start spreading. And then I'll do that on both sides, and then I'll go and you leverage your screwdriver against the ball of the shoulder joint, so that way it really pushes. It really creates that force to where you're pushing it from the inside of the ball joint area of the torso mold, and you're pushing it outwards, and you're kind of creating that pressure to separate them. And then I'll go to the front, and my favorite place is the pectoral because that's the most plastic there. I don't want to say guaranteed, but almost guaranteed not to get stress marks if you apply the pressure to where that plastic is at its thickest, and I find that to be the pectoral. Then
the chosen one does not endorse this in any shape or form. This guarantee that you're not going to get stress marks. Send all your complaints to the Mad Reaper. Just kidding.
And
Continue.
then you do that, and I like to lay them down at that point and apply a little bit of pressure. Don't try to break the figure. Be easy. If you've
very key. Be gentle at all points. Don't force anything.
Yeah, if you've done it properly and the plastic's soft enough, you don't have to use that much force. I've literally, and I'll do one later, where my torso is literally slide apart. Like my Daniel Bryan figures that I've used for so many different of my customs, those torsos are so easy to take apart, and they practically, I'm not even kidding, they practically take apart themselves for me. So once you get the top of the torso away, once you start seeing the seam there, my favorite is I try to get a screwdriver into where the entrance point is into the torso where the shoulder goes. If I can get that kind of piece to where I can top it off once that separation's there, it's a home run from there. So let's say, just on a little side note, if I'm able to take an arm out, but I can tell that the torso's cracked enough, if there's an arm out, there's something called a reverse ring pliers. That's going to be really hard. It's a specialty tool. I use that, but I've also used a needle nose pliers, and this is something that I know Elite didn't talk about, but I've done, and I use a needle nose to insert into the arm, the shoulder part here, where the arm in the figure goes into the upper torso, and I put the needle nose in there, and I pull out gently, just to create some reverse force.
Gently.
And then it spreads apart the torso. My other pliers, the reverse ring pliers, you squeeze, and it has a spring, so it does the same effect. The point is to open up this, the reverse, like a reverse pliers. So once that torso is separated, you have the lower abdomen part of the torso. This part is, I think, the most easiest to break, especially on the old figures, but it's also the easiest to separate if you take your time with it. So depending on how long it took me for my upper torso, and this is just being completely honest, I may move right onto that if it takes me 2 minutes and if it was a complete breeze, or to be safe, typically more often than not, I'll put it back in the water. I won't necessarily reheat the water at this point if the water's still warm, but I will put it in there and let it get back soft, get it warmed up again. And once it is, the plastic needs to be just as soft, because this time, instead of looking for that separation, for me, I'm going to force the separation. So when I take it out, I use my box cutter, and I will go straight down to the point. Here, I'm going to see if I can't take apart this torso. I know those of you listening won't be able to see this, but those of you watching will, and I'll do a video on this later. But if you've done a successful torso crack, you should end up at this period. For me, we're going to breach the top piece here. The top piece where that rubber connector inside the upper torso will be. Make sure you don't throw that away either. That's what keeps your top torso from, being wobbly and sliding all over the place. So what you're going to do is take my box cutter, and I will go right here at the top piece, the most top portion of the upper or the lower abs. And I will slide my blade across the whole level. This is another point where the X-Acto knife isn't exactly the most ideal tool, at least not for me, because the blade's not long enough. With the box cutter, the blades, you can have it just as long as you need, and I usually have it like a good inch, so I'll put the blade along the entire width of that thing, and I'll cut in, and the plastic will be soft at this point. You got to be very careful, but just slide in at an angle, and you will go right in that crease mark. And this part's really fine if you mess up the plastic a little bit, although I don't. But if you do, this part's hidden on the figure. So I cut in at an angle, and then I bring it down once the top part of the tip of the blade's in. I bring it down, and then in doing so, I slice what is usually probably the I think is the top pig in here, and that's not a bad thing, because if you can refrain, let me rephrase it. If you can retain the connecting piece on the lower part that does show on the figure, like the I guess the love handle area, or what would you call that? The side of the lower torso. If you can keep that flush when you reassemble the figure, that's a win in my eyes. So for me, I want to do all my work that I have to do separating it on the top part that's not showing. That being said, I will cut the sides too if they haven't already shown signs of separating. But ideally, you don't want to put a screwdriver, and I've seen some people do this, you don't want to put a screwdriver on the sides, push it out, like right inside here, because that's going to be a part where this part will definitely have a stress mark. Like, without doubt, if you apply pressure there, that will end up with the stress mark because the plastic is really weak there. It's really thin. And not only that, you risk breaking off your, I guess, your hinge, your joint hinge here for the upper torso. Because this plastic, it's only molded into one half of that torso. So if you use it as a leverage point, you know, putting your screwdriver in here but using this hinge as a leverage point, this peg, you will snap that peg off too, and your torso will be completely unusable. So I like to take a knife, cut down the whole point. I push it down till that hinge, about that deep, and then at that point, the torso is usually cracked. And now with my box cutter, I'll tilt it just a little bit. I'll torque the knife just a little bit, like it would be a flathead, and get it to move. And if at that point I start seeing some separation, I'll pull out the box cutter, I'll put in my flathead, put it down in there, and usually just putting it in there, it creates enough of the tension to release the joint. If not, I put it in there, I put it in as far as I can, and then, you know, use that as leverage, and it's cracked. It's open. Now you have two separate pieces. If it doesn't crack on that point, I will go cut down the sides with the box cutter, and if it's really stubborn up top, or if it's really stubborn on the bottom, that's where the glue is, it's going to be tough, and I'll gently try to, you know, put it on the side where there's a lot of likelihood of stress, but I don't push it, and if it's at that point, I will reheat it and try to go in underneath this hinge point. And if I can't create, if there's not a space there for me to insert my flathead, I will use my knife or my box cutter, try to create a little opening, and then use my flathead and gain entry off to the side here, and use a crack just like I would if it was the arm joint. And at that point, you'll take it off. Some figures have and some figures don't. For some reason, I don't know if it's a factory, have the black rubber square piece that goes on top of the torso or the crotch peg to keep the torsos from sliding around. Some pieces don't need it, but don't throw that part away either, and you've successfully cracked the torso. It's pretty easy. It's a long process, but it's one that takes practice and the patience.
Practice. Patience.
And if there's one tip I, remind myself of, it's letting this plastic get hot. That's what you want to do. You want to let this plastic get hot because it gets soft. And when the plastic gets soft, so does the glue. And that will take away all your problems. To me, a hairdryer works, but it's very tough. It's very tough, and it takes a lot of time, and your hands get burnt, like Elite said. So the best way to do it is with boiling water.
And I think you brought up a good point of the box cutter versus X-Acto knife. Nothing wrong if you use an X-Acto knife and it works for you, but yeah. I do think with that box cutter, you do get that extra little grip, and it's a little easier to work with. So if you're starting out, I would recommend the box cutter over the X-Acto knife.
And the box cutter doesn't even need to be tremendously sharp. Mine's, probably so dull. But it's such a fine point that it does help to cut whatever it needs to cut.
You can get box cutters just about anywhere.
Yeah,
and X-Acto knives is a little harder to find. So
that's true. They're super cheap, and that's my biggest tip. And if I'm working on a lot of figures, which I've cracked a lot at a time before, I use a electric teapot. And that is my boiling water. I'll be able to have a couple cups waiting. I'll pour my teapot in there, pour the boiling water, both of them, let it sit, and if I'm going to have to do another run, I'll put on the electric teapot again and have hot water waiting for me. So
that's a good idea.
That's a newer one. So
this segment has been brought to you by the NWO. that's our non-sponsor for today.
Yeah, but our Mad Reaper Studios is our sponsor, and that was me breaking it down. So it was awesome. I mean, and we just thought you guys would like to, know some of this content. That's what I would. We created this podcast for something that we would listen to. So for me, that's one of the big things I was talking to Pat earlier, and yeah, I want to know. When I listen to a podcast or a custom one, I expect to know some custom tips. So we're hoping to really blend our style. I think we're really catching our flow now, and if I were to say, I think our last episode is probably our best one to date, and this one hopefully will be next. So we're getting better.
Check out Mad Reaper Studios on YouTube.
Yep.
Later today, possibly tomorrow, there might be a video following up on
Torso
things that we
cracking.
talked about today with torso
Yep.
cracking. Getting into a little bit of news, which we occasionally do. I saw a post on Facebook. Now, this is a tough one. This is almost an unanswerable question. But who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? I mean, for me, I would definitely put Hogan on there, Flair. But past that, you got two spots. Do you go Japan? Do you go Mexico? Do you go Indy? I mean, like I said, it's almost
Yeah,
an
I think that's.
impossible question.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you almost have to break it down to each country because I feel like in Mexico it's such a, it's such a deeply rooted part of the culture, and that one would definitely feature Blue Demon, Dr. Wagner, Santo. Like there's so many legends over there. But as far as the U.S., I completely agree. It's tough because I would agree. I don't want to just be like I agree, but. With Ric Flair and Hogan, it's hard to deny their spots on there. Even in Hogan in recent memory, I had the chance to, visit his beach shop that he just opened in Orlando in April. It's his second location or something, I believe. But
Yeah, the other one's in Daytona.
okay, yeah, and it's really hard to deny his presence being felt. It was like it felt like when I visited the Vatican almost, and I hate to say that, but it was like you felt like a force there, seeing all the memorabilia, all the
There's
historic.
a lot of great memorabilia,
Yeah.
at least the one in Daytona Beach, where I actually met Nixie Rocks for the first time. She's an independent wrestler, and
Wow,
also on TNA for a while.
Yeah, and
So yeah, we actually met up there for the first time and
That's
hung out
cool.
for a little while.
That's
It was a
cool.
lot of fun.
And I mean, they had a great selection of elite figures over there, so I was impressed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually, they had a wall stacked. I checked out a couple Toys R Us's, and I mean, we're all figure nerds on here anyway, so I'll talk about real quick what I got. I found some Kiss retro figures, the like old the Funko style ones, except I don't think Funko made these ones. And then I found the
My favorite Kiss
Ghostbusters.
figure, by the way,
Which one?
is Kiss Batman.
Oh, Kiss
I saw a Kiss Batman.
That's
little
awesome.
keychain. That was my favorite. Kiss
That's
figure.
awesome. Well,
Or the Demon.
speaking of, I mean, the Demon, we'll have to talk about the Demon in WCW sometime. Kiss was one of my favorite rock bands as a kid because they had face paint, and obviously that followed me through even adulthood because people in masks are badass. So, anyways, I also got the DC Direct Ghostbusters. I was a big fan of the original Ghostbusters film, so it's
Absolutely.
always
Who not?
I couldn't ever find each of the Ghostbusters in one Toys R Us, so instead I just never wanted to just buy one and like kind of hunt the rest because it's exhausting toy hunting for something that's not your thing. So
And you don't want to have like two Ghostbusters
Right.
and not the rest.
yeah,
So.
and it's a very OCD. I think we're all a little bit OCD in that sense where we have to have like a complete set. So for me, I found a Toys R Us in Florida that had all four of them. So I was like, I'm getting them $15 each. That's a deal too. That I think with how many different hands and accessories they have, that's a great price for action figures these days. So I got a whole set of them. So they're over here on my side. I'll have to show them later. But then the last one was G.I. Joe. I know Pat's a big fan of G.I. Joe. Knows
Absolutely.
way more about it than I ever will. But for me, as a kid, I've always liked one guy, and it should come as no surprise because he also wears a mask. And no, it's not Cobra Commander. It's Destro. So I found this old reissue of the 25th anniversary Destro, and he happens to fit in my figure packaging. So Yeah, I got Destro. I was pretty happy for that.
King
So
of G.I. Joe. My friends at Marauder Task Force, which do G.I. Joe
yeah,
scale and accessories, are having a Kickstarter. Please check it out on Kickstarter.com.
that's awesome.
Pledge, pledge, pledge. They've been very good to me in the past, so I just wanted to give a shout out.
What is the Kickstarter
Also,
about? We should talk about
the
that.
Kickstarter is they're going to have some exoskeleton suits for GI
Wow.
Joes, some K9, and then different color schemes, and for the Valkyries, which are the females, and the males. So
And
it's
they're the like the base figures of a GI Joe, right? Like they're pretty much blank canvases for you to customize on. Am I
blank
correct?
canvases, and also they have little holes where you can plug in different accessories and everything.
That's very
We'll have
cool.
to have one on next week on the
Yeah,
show.
I
I'll have
think
to
it's
remember
cool. I
that.
mean, those companies that just to sidetrack, like those companies that cater towards customizers, like some of those GI Joe ones, that Marauder, and then like Figmas. I think it's so cool because it does allow for like someone just getting into the hobby to be, here you go, like a blank pop. Here's a blank canvas, paint it up, sculpt it however you want. So that's very cool. Yeah, check that out.
And for the third time in the news, Sasha Banks came out and said she is not the 3-time Raw champion. She's the 3-time 2-week holder of the belt, and that she has lost all confidence because of the way that she's been booked.
Really?
And a lot of people are speculating after that comment and after a little incident with a fan again that maybe she's got one foot out the door. Thoughts?
Wow. This is the first time hearing about it. I think it's tough because without getting too much into it, I'll let Pat do that. It's a good time to be a wrestler, and it's a great time to be a wrestling fan because you don't need to stay in the WWE, as the Young Bucks have proved, and countless others, to make
Bullet
a
Club.
living. Yeah, Bullet Club, Ricochet, my homie Cage. It's crazy. You don't need to be part of the
Rhodes is having
WWE.
a good run outside of WWE, so
So what are your thoughts, Pat?
my thoughts are that I think if it were me, I absolutely have no confidence left because WWE is basically saying they have no faith in you. I think the first 2 times they wanted, people were complaining that Charlotte Flair was the champion, and so they gave it to someone else, and they said, no, we really want Charlotte to be the champion. She won it back. And this last time, I think maybe might have been, like we talked about last week, a little bit of punishment. But it absolutely wouldn't go with my psyche and mess it up. So I don't blame her for saying that. I hope she sticks around. She's very talented.
Yeah. I mean, her and Bailey had a great match, and it'd be awesome to see Bailey come back. And I mean, what's with her getting booed even? Bailey got booed in Toronto a couple weeks ago. Like,
Well, people are mad about Bayley's booking because
yeah.
basically she's been a jobber as of late, and people are really upset. And WWE is surprised that she's getting booed, but it's not really a surprise. I mean,
No. I mean, you bring up a great point. It really is, I think, a case of the fans being upset with the booking versus the actual wrestler. It's like the Roman thing, like their fans get upset at the way they're being booked, and that's an unfortunate aspect. And hopefully the WWE takes note and corrects course, because I can't see Bailey as a heel. I don't know about you.
No, I just don't think it would work with her character. But Billy Graham's upset because Ric Flair said motherfuckers.
Oh my god, really?
We're on the. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, I've seen the video. Yeah.
On the shirt, it says that I'm still
I ain't
alive
dead,
and
yeah.
efforts, whatever. It's, of course, somewhat
It is censored out.
censored.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's mad because he says that's disrespectful to the fans that prayed for him. And he went on this long, I believe, Facebook post rant about it.
Wow, I didn't know that, but I would say that, in as few words as I can, that's not aimed at his fans whatsoever. I think I Ain't Dead Motherfuckers isn't calling his fans that. I think it's calling everyone, that would have probably thought he was
it
dead.
was just a fun shirt that
Yeah.
he had. Someone obviously made it for him, and he wanted to wear it. And, it does go along with Ric Flair persona, which Billy Graham says obviously he has a problem distinguishing his real life from his persona, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, and what would the Iron Sheik say to Billy Graham?
Yeah, you would have two words. One starts with F, one starts with U. So,
Jabroni.
anyway, for the first time ever, and this is our last little news piece, and then we'll wrap up the show. Raw will be live on Christmas and New Year's Eve.
I heard
What are
that.
your thoughts about that? I can't imagine attendance is going to be great, but maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. WWE feels like a family type show, and I think that it's going to be tough. I mean, Vince, I don't see how many people are going to catch it, but I mean, I know. Oh, man, I don't know. I feel bad for the wrestlers.
Things, I mean,
yeah, I feel bad for the wrestlers. They don't get to spend time with their family back home, so.
That's a very, 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 very good point.
That's the only point where I'd come at it from. I mean, as far as promotional, I could see a lot of cool matches to be able to have a celebration. I mean, like Kiss's, was it a Christmas special or was it a Halloween special way back when?
I believe Christmas special, yeah. So will Mick Foley come out as Santa Claus?
That would be pretty cool.
All right, folks. This is
one more thing.
Underground Podcast. We have one more important piece of information for you. Go.
I think we have to talk about Sexy Star being stripped of her Reina de la Reigns, or whatever, how you pronounce it, title. Yeah.
Oh, she was actually stripped of her title?
She was stripped of it. That's per Vampiro's page.
I was thinking about this the other day in great length, more than I probably should. But Rosemary has an injury, but no one will say what it is or how bad it is or anything. And it just, in the back of my mind, I wonder if this still isn't some kind of work or something. But her being stripped of her title is a very big deal, and I don't necessarily see that there's any reason for it. If this is a legit thing and she actually did injure someone, then yes, she should be stripped of her title. To have a mysterious injury that no one can quite narrow down to what it is or anything, that's kind of weird to me.
And,
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. If this is a work, this AAA, man, they are definitely booking everything right, because it is exciting. And I don't know about you, but I checked out Triple Mania. Aerostar did this crazy jump from the Raptors, like pretty much like from the Raptors. And man, AAA is fun to watch. And they got some English commentary, so that's always cool, even though it kind of sucks. They should bring in Matt Striker. So bring Matt Striker, AAA Vampiro, because you guys could do what NJPW does and have just as many fans over here in the U.S. Besides,
They did a little bit better than Jim Ross, probably.
Yeah, besides lucha nerds like me. Yeah, so I think it's a.
And you can catch the last pay-per-view on Twitch, you said?
Yeah, it's Twitch, and there's a couple streams on YouTube, actually, but you didn't hear it from me.
Nope.
But I hope they bring back Taya. If this is legit, bring back Taya, because Johnny Mundo was there at Triple Mania, and him and Vampiro had an exchange in the ring, and I could see them working up an angle for that. Vampiro had said on Stone Cold's podcast a while ago that one of the talents he would love to work with besides Pentagon, which he already had at that point, Stone Cold asked him, like, who else would you like to work with? And Vampiro's like, oh man, I don't know. None of them, need me, but especially this guy, but I would love to work with him. He doesn't need me at this point in the career because he's a star.
Him being Johnny Mundo?
And then he said Johnny Mundo.
Impact.
Johnny Mundo, because he's like, Johnny Mundo is a tremendous talent. I would love to work with him. So maybe they squash the beef behind doors. Maybe they're going to have an angle, because I think it would be pretty cool. I mean, Vampiro is one of those guys that I think is still capable of wrestling more so than, like, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But and he's hardcore. So I mean, the stigma behind hardcore is that you're not as good of a wrestler. I think that's false, especially if you look like Pagano and some of those AAA talents who are hardcore and still really great second, third generation wrestlers. But Vampiro doing his hardcore, I mean, we both rave about it. The Pentagon Jr. vs. Vampiro match at the Ultima Lucha for Lucha Underground Season 1. You have to watch that match. He still got it. He can take a bump, and you don't need to be doing a bunch of high spots or anything if you're old.
Here's what I wonder: if you're Johnny Mundo, obviously you don't need AAA promotion. So why would you go back in the ring and confront Vampiro if it's not a work?
He won his title again. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, Johnny Mundo. Yeah, Johnny Mundo won there too. And that's where
Very intriguing.
Yeah, it was really cool. You got to see it because Johnny Mundo actually plays up his persona, which I think is great. And Johnny's the perfect
He's
douche.
perfected it.
He's a perfect douche, and I love Johnny Mundo, so I don't mean this in an insulting way. But he is Johnny Mundo, and he was there in front of the Mexico crowd. He's like, he threw the belt down to Vampiro. He's like, pick it up, you hand it to me. You hand it to me, you scum or whatever, and just shit talking Vampiro. And Vampiro was sitting there like an obedient dog taking it. And then he grabs the mics and he's like, Vampiro. And the entire arena, this was their Mexico's biggest gate, I heard. This arena was huge. All started shouting, Vampiro. He's like,
Vampiro,
you cannot come in this
Vampiro,
ring
Vampiro.
and ever beat me. These are my people, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And it was like amazing because it fired up the need for me to want to watch Vampiro versus Johnny Mundo match so bad. And he won the title there. So, I mean, Johnny Mundo, at the end of the day, is a very smart businessman. And I think Vampiro's the guy that if he F's up, would apologize for it. And I do believe that when he told Johnny bring the title from Taya, he was doing so at the behest of his superiors. I think Johnny's Vampiro's someone following orders, and it sucks because I feel like he was also the fall guy for that, and hopefully him and Johnny
caught in the middle of the situation.
Yeah, and it wasn't right because Taya is. I like Taya way more than I like Sexy Star. And I like Sexy Star. I'm a big Sexy Star fan. But I like Taya a lot. Taya is a cool person, I think. She's a great wrestler. And they need to have her back on AAA. So it would be really cool if they did a feud with Vampiro and Johnny Mundo.
Well, if Johnny Mundo's back, anything's possible, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, and they're still friends with... No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and they still have that relationship with GFW. So it opens the door. It's not like they moved on to WWE, so...
Exactly. One thing I would say about Sexy Star is they did bring up the fact that she does kind of have an attitude. She thinks very highly of herself, to say it nicely, and that's why last time she retired rather than drop the belt, because she felt she was above that and didn't need to drop the belt, and then was going to go into boxing and came back. So, I'm sure there's a lot of egos going on.
Yeah.
But I hope they all work it out because I'd like to see Taya back. I'm glad Johnny Mundo's back.
And there's a lesson we learned there from, I think, Dr. Wagner Jr., who lost his mask in a match against Psycho Clown in Triple Mania. And
who was also very much about himself and has done things in the past. So, yeah, it is a very good lesson.
And it had longevity and, lasted and did what's right for the business. I think Dr. Wagner Jr. could have easily not put Psycho Clown over this at Triple Mania. I think this is Psycho Clown's second year headlining Triple Mania. Correct me if I'm wrong, especially my Mexico fans. I think Dr. Wagner Jr., ended up doing it right, and he could, if he ends up retire with his head held high because, dude's a badass, and dude's so ripped at his age. He looks like the world's most interesting man on those Dasaki commercials, so he's a stud. But that's all I had to say. We're big fans of Lucha, and we had to talk about Sexy Star getting her
one more time.
Yeah. So, see you guys next week. Keep in
touch. This has been the Custom Underground Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We love each and every one of you, our fans. This is the reason we do it. Thank you.
See you guys later.
Custom Underground.